Welcome back to the Get More podcast, where we get more out of life and
business.
And you're here with Chris Hill and
Kelsey Jones.
We are so glad that you came and joined us. We have a special guest today. His name is Josh LaWarre, and he is amazing in so many ways, especially when it comes to new construction and being well-dressed. There's not a day that I've seen this man and he is not put together.
That's it for me, folks. I'm out of here.
No, you cannot go yet. Okay, we
Thank
like I like a short podcast, but not that short.
Okay, yeah.
Let's give him about 10 minutes.
Can only fall after that introduction.
I mean, really, it can. You got to build yourself back up. We'll see how it goes.
All right, we'll see what we can do.
Don't forget
Thanks for having me.
The highlight of the mustache too.
Oh, the highlight of the mustache.
I mean,
we'll talk about what the mustache has done for you. Okay, let's figure that out. Okay. So, Josh, when I first met you, we were, of course, in the office, but I learned a lot more about you when we were on Associate Leadership Council. You are a leader in our office, and you do so many great things as far as like making sure agents have what they need. But tell us a little bit about how you got from where you were to where you are now.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was Agent Leadership Council where we first met. We were trying to figure that out. But anyway, I started as a new home salesperson way back in the turn of the century. 1999.
Oh my
so
God.
I was hired on. I had just gotten out of the military, got hired on, recruited from a mall job at Brookstone.
In
Shout out
Jesus,
to the
There you
gadget
go.
in
people
Jesus
out there.
times.
What's that?
In Jesus times.
It was. Yeah, I was churning butter times, you know.
I wouldn't know anything about that because I was only 2 years old.
Neither of you would know. You wouldn't know anything about it.
Well, a little bit.
So I got recruited by the sales manager for a builder who was based out of Atlanta, who was now in the Nashville market at the time, and they were building, and he liked how I handled a customer interaction. He's like, have you ever thought about selling new homes? And I was like, I didn't even know there was such a thing. So I was desperate to get out of the mall before the Christmas rush. So I was like, I will take it. I will go. And I took that job and ended up doing great at it. I sold on site. So I was a new home salesperson on site in a model home, helping people buy right across from our office down on Carruthers, as a matter of fact. It was the first neighborhood that I sold. So I see it every day. And from there, I progressed up to, made it to sales manager for that company, got laid off in the downturn, all that sort of thing. So went back into new homes.
Did you go
after
back
that.
to You didn't go back to Brookstone?
I did not have to, fortunately. I did a lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't put on my resume now. But
it's okay. You sold those beds and pillows that were like $300.
I remember growing up, anytime it was like Christmas or like my dad's birthday or something, I would go to Brookstone and I would just, like that was my go-to.
Golf,
if I needed
grilling,
a gift.
massage chair. That's why people walk in as the massage chair.
I bought him one year a nose hair trimmer.
There you go.
From Brookstone.
You were like, what, 3?
I was 3.
Yeah, probably so, right?
I appreciate your
so
trust
young.
in a
My favorite
3-year-old.
gifts
But
of all time, with almost no exceptions, are all from my daughter. So, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So, thank
There
you for
you
the
go.
nose hair trimmer on behalf of your dad. Anyway, so just continued in the new homes thing. After in the midst of the downturn, got with other builders, sold on site some more. I've been a sales manager with large builders, with smaller regional builders, and so got a chance to work with, I was working way out of Murfreesboro, away from where my kids were, and that's a priority in my life, is being present and around for my kids as much as I can. So found an opportunity that was happening in Nolensville and went to work for that builder, where I came across a guy who I'd known but had never met, because it's a small community in the new homes world, Steve Jacobs, who's the managing partner of our company. And I
Shout
started
out
working with
Steve
him.
Jacobs.
What's that?
I said shout out to Steve Jacobs.
Shout out to Steve Jacobs. And I love working with him. I didn't know I would at the time, but I knew he was nice when I met him, and we interviewed and had a good time. And I knew, he and I both share a philosophy. It's like, we want to work with people we like.
For sure.
That's the primary driver. And so I got on with him, 2019, something like that. And then we moved to the KW office shortly after COVID was winding down. So end of 2021-ish. I think it was maybe March or April of 21. And we've been there ever since. And so, I have all this experience from back in the late 1900s as a new home salesperson and a sales manager. And Steve's basically had the same track I have, only he started a year earlier than I did. So we have just sort of made that our primary focus, is working with builders. Now we also do general real estate, our team does. But we have a lot of expertise when it comes to that. Jason Huck, out of the blue, asked me if I wanted to be on Agent Leadership Council because he thought we needed a new construction committee, so to speak.
I mean, we're in Nashville. There's a lot of new construction happening here, and understanding that is key.
Well, and it's blossomed into a lot of things that when I started really thinking about all the stuff that I know that I've experienced, agents coming in to my sales center and not understanding the process, not in a way that allowed them to sort of be relaxed and properly represent their buyers. It's not all of them, but a big percentage really didn't understand what was going on. And so it's led to me doing classes for our office for agents to understand the new construction process better and how they can fit that knowledge into leveraging new construction as buyer representatives and possibly even picking up some builders as clients. So that's been super rewarding. I love teaching. I love helping. And I have, over the last, 2.5 years or so, become the go-to guy in our office if you've got anything from raw land up to, an issue with a build. People call me all the time about that stuff.
So valuable.
I love that because when they call me, that's not my ministry. That's Josh's.
No, I'm happy to do it. It gives me a lot of satisfaction to help people and help them through a deal and help them make it so it's enjoyable for their client. And, it's one of the easiest processes you'll deal with as a buyer's agent because the builder's agent will take on the entirety of the process.
Well, I mean,
you just have to be comfortable with what's going on.
Sometimes, and not all of them. They're not all you, Josh.
That is very true. That is very true.
Let's keep it easy.
Yeah, I've worked with them too. So it's not always the case.
I work with them too. You're like, oh, this is going to be a win. I can just go ahead, just,
Let me just
sit back, put my bonnet on and go to sleep. No, you got to stay alert.
Okay, so it's obviously you've been in new construction for a long time.
Yep.
Prior to that, did you always see this path for yourself, or did you have something else completely in mind?
No. You mean before I started real estate at all?
Yeah.
Before I started real estate at all, I thought I was going to, my dream in life were twofold when I was a kid. One was to have a family. Box checked, got that.
I love that.
Started a little later than I anticipated, but the other one was I'm a Cold War kid. That's how old I really am. So I grew up with Ronald Reagan and Rocky IV and the Soviets versus us and all of that stuff. And I absolutely love spy thriller stuff.
Kelsey's looking like, what is all of that?
I know. You can Google it all later. It's okay. And ask ChatGPT.
Kelsey's gonna look that up when she gets over here. Like, what is he talking about?
Well, I wanted to be a spy in the worst way, and I wanted to be in the military, and then go to the CIA. I feel like
with the stash, like you're well on your way.
Oh
still.
Yeah,
this would be way too noticeable.
Wait, is he a spy?
You gotta go under the radar. There's nothing under the radar about this.
First off, he doesn't even do new construction. You really are a spy currently.
Yeah,
I was in the Army actually, so I did that. So I did that, and it was a lot less glamorous than what you're probably thinking and what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah,
because
right.
while several of my classmates from learning how to be a spy school went to places like Europe and Asia and wore a suit and acted like, regular people in the world, I got to go to Fort Campbell and carry a rifle and paint my face up and run around in the woods with a backpack. And it was the greatest time of my life.
Yeah.
I loved it. And still do.
It makes sense because you are really serious about your health. So we talk about getting more out of life and business. So out of life, when I met you, you were talking about doing something. You said, hey, I have something coming up. I don't want to tell everybody what it is, but it is health related. And I want to make sure that I stay focused and I stay true to that because our main focus was to be accountability partners. And even in that, we said, we want to keep you accountable. And so tell us about what that was because it was a big thing for you.
That was 2023. And I was kind of, athletics has been a thing for me since I've been a kid. So
me too. That's why I'm so buff right now.
I can tell. I can tell.
Well, from the dip in the back of my head.
You want to turn around and show everybody?
Nope. You told me earlier I shouldn't worry about it because I can't see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it if you can't see it. I can't see it right now.
Good.
Out of sight,
I
out of
played
mind.
baseball and basketball, and then eventually tennis. So I've done sports my whole life, and so I got to a point in 2023. I was like, I need something to focus my energy and my attention towards. And for me, that translates into, let's pick an event to go do that's going to be hard to do and that I have to train up for. It'll focus me, all the preparation I need to do. So I had done, back in the early 2000s, I had done triathlon before. So I had done sprint distance and Olympic distance and even up to like half Ironman distance, and done, I don't know, a dozen of those races, more than a dozen of those races, but not half Ironmans. I did 4 or 5 of those. And hard as they are, they're super satisfying to, conquer. And I had finished all of those, and I was like, I've always wanted to do a full Ironman.
That's very impressive.
Thank you. I was very proud that I did it. All kidding aside, I mean, I was not disappointed with my effort.
Yeah.
It's just, I have that mentality that there's nothing I can't do. Well, generally speaking, but like athletically, I've done a lot of stuff. So I'm like, I can gut this out. I couldn't gut it out. This was way too much to gut out.
I love that perspective, the mindset that you have there of like, there's nothing I can't do. It's just maybe I can't do it yet. Right.
Right.
So have there been moments like that you've experienced in business along the way?
Oh, yeah.
That kind of shaped, the way you think about business or serving clients?
Well, yeah, I suppose what I would say, just as a general, delusion has built so many wonderful things in this world. I mean, if it wasn't for delusion, we wouldn't have some of the buildings we have and some of the things that we have in civilization.
We love Delulu.
So I'm mildly delusional in that way. Like, even if I haven't done something before, I'm really pretty willing to get up and do it.
Yeah.
Like, just, and I got it from my dad. Was the same way. So my dad was that way, and I don't know whether I caught it from him or just watching him or whatever, but I've never seen something where, I'm the guy who's like, okay, I could do that. And
do you see it as like a challenge?
If somebody tells me I can't, absolutely.
Yeah. You're like, okay,
absolutely, yeah.
Let me go.
But you could get pretty scattered doing stuff like that too. It's like if you rise to every challenge somebody gives you, you might end up, you lose focus. And I have some things that I love to do that are plenty challenging, so I don't have to worry about it. But business-wise, I think it enabled me to, rise up the ranks of the home building company that I worked for. It turned out I didn't love the management side of things. I mean, a lot of salespeople who are good salespeople find out the builder will say, hey, you're a good salesperson. We think you should manage this team because wouldn't it be great if what you do would rub off on all of our salespeople? Right. It's a totally different skill set. I was just talking about this with somebody. So I didn't love managing. I love working with people and helping out, but like the admin side of managing, staffing and all of that crap was just...
What's the next thing?
What's the next thing?
Yeah, that you're looking at right now. You said, you know what? I could do that.
I'm actually looking for a next thing. I play... I'll tell you...
I can give you something if you need it. Like, I bet you can't cook a peach cobbler and have it here tomorrow.
What?
You're probably right about that one.
Where did that come from?
He said he could do anything.
Yeah.
Peach cobbler came to mind?
Because of my favorite,
I would show up with
favorite dessert.
Oh my God.
That's where the dip
I would show up with
from.
something that had peaches in it, but I don't think you'd want it. I am not a genius in the kitchen.
Okay, you did say working out, so you wouldn't
Unless
do it
it's
right.
breakfast. I can do breakfast pretty good, but thank God
my
I still
gosh.
have kids, but
Never mind.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not going to work out for you. Yeah, you do get as you get older. Let me tell the both of you, as you get older, you do start to realize places where it's wise to not be so intrepid. I think peach cobbler would fit in that. And let's not be so intrepid.
You have to know your skill sets.
Super.
I am incredibly self-aware.
Yeah. Okay.
Over my skill set when it comes to pickleball, tennis, it's just I'm just not good
You
at
stick
it.
to the mahjong.
Mahjong, yeah.
Yeah, that's you can
Great at
tear it
kickball.
You're an athlete though, right?
I played softball growing up. That's so kind of you to say that I'm an athlete because I don't. I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm an athlete.
Yeah, you should have just said yes.
Yes.
And let that sit in the world.
I played softball growing up pretty competitively. So that's why I'm great at kickball. Yeah, I wanna actually take us back to something that you said earlier when you were talking about teaching. Obviously, you're teaching all of our agents, regularly. Feels like, and you take people out to new construction communities.
Yeah.
What is something that, because I'm sure by now that you've picked up on it, what is something that is always like this huge, among the agents, like, oh, I didn't realize that about new construction, or what are the things that I guess really stand out to the agents that you're that you're teaching in those moments that we can share here?
I would say the biggest just sort of paradigm shift that I have told agents is that new home construction is less a real estate transaction, although it is, obviously. It's more of a high-end retail transaction. And most of the teaching that I do would center around, you want to hit the biggest section of, their potential experience as possible, meaning I teach from the standpoint of you're going to walk into a model home, a builder's model. They're going to, it's a big builder or a regional builder who's building multiple homes, multiple maybe communities, things like that. So sort of the most typical experience, the most common experience. And it's walking into a business. You're walking into their,
Right.
That community is a small business. It's a subsidiary of the big builder in that case. So even the D.R. Horton of the world and the Lennars, they're giant home builders, but that individual community is run by a construction superintendent or a project manager and a salesperson who's there making the sales and building of the homes happen.
Right.
And it's high-end retail. It's like it would be no different than if you went to buy a Rolls Royce or something like that, and you get to pick out everything for the home. Or, if it's the builder who doesn't offer picking out everything, you get to pick out a few things for the home. But it really is a retail transaction, and that sort of resets your expectation when you walk in, because the salesperson's trying to sell a home when you walk in. Now, as agents, we're trying to sell what we're listing. We're trying to sell our buyers on getting them the home that fits what they're looking for, but it's different. It's a sales presentation. And having been on the other side, having taught sales training in the new home space, certainly having been a part of sales training just more times than I can think of, it is a business to consumer, to B2C sales.
Yeah.
So that's a big paradigm shift. And then you realize you got to teach how different the contract is, because a lot of people who are agents and they've never done a new home
construction contracts are a beast.
They're just different.
They're completely different.
You spend a lot of time getting used to the TAR contracts,
right,
and all the paperwork associated with that, and all of how evenly balanced it is between buyer and seller protection. And it is not anything like that in a builder contract. So, and there are a lot of reasons for that are legitimate, but it can be really intimidating for an agent first time to read through that, not really understand what they're reading or how it is going to affect their client, and it can create a lot of anxiety in that agent, and it manifests itself in a bunch of different ways.
Right. So you've kind of touched on this, how different it is. The biggest difference between representing a buyer on a resale versus new construction. Are there stories that you have? Or maybe it's not even your own stories. Maybe it's from somebody else that's a really good representation of that.
I tell you, I'll link it to something I said. It creates anxiety when you get an agent who, I've sat across the table from this experience. I couldn't even tell you how many times, dozens. Let's just call it dozens of times. I'm selling for the builder. I'm on one side of my table in my office, and there's an agent and her or his clients on the other side. And the agent doesn't fully understand what the contract means or what's going on here, or hasn't done a new home transaction before. And they feel like they're feeling anxious about it, clearly. They're feeling like, I'm out of control here. This person's talking to my clients, which is totally weird. In normal space, you would never, I don't talk to your buyer client when I'm listing, and vice versa. So it is completely different that way. And a lot of times that agent will start to insert themselves into like asking questions, and not always the relevant questions, sometimes really irrelevant questions. I just want to
say something. You're talking too much. I feel like you're taking my people.
Right. We've all had experience. If you've done a transaction, you've probably had an experience of feeling like an inspector has noticed some things on a property that just so they can write, hey, I found something wrong with this. We call it justifying your existence. And I don't mean to be belittle the agent in this case who would do something like that, but it is it's an impediment. It can be an impediment to the process. And I've had it where the buyers clearly wanted to buy what I had to sell, and they'd never come back, because you could tell that when they got in the car after the visit, that the agent and they were having a conversation, and somehow soured them on whatever was going on. So that's what happens, really.
Okay, that's a great segue too. So how do you build trust with, I guess in both cases, so how do you build trust with that agent, and then vice versa, if you're the buyer's agent, how do you build trust with that builder's representative during
Yeah.
that process? What are some key things
Well,
that you
on
try
the
to
buyer
do?
rep side, I the only way to build trust is to get comfortable yourself with the process. That's why I teach these classes,
Yeah.
because I mean, I enjoy it, but the whole purpose is so that the agents in our office, the first time they're reading a contract or seeing a plat map or a plot plan or walking through a new construction home, they don't have to make their first time when they're out there with a client. They can come to our classes once a month, and they can learn. I mean, you will learn everything that you need to know in those classes. That'll get you started, and then you go experience it. So your level of confidence with the process as a buyer's agent is going to color the entire experience for you, and probably for your clients too. So I would say just get as much knowledge as you can. And it doesn't have to be through my classes. I mean, there's plenty of information online that you can learn.
No, it has to
basics.
be Josh LaWarre's class. There is no other
I
class.
would like that.
It
There's the
has
call to
be.
action.
There you go.
Go to
Join his
Josh's
class.
I would
We'll talk
love
about
that.
when the next class
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
But to build rapport with as a new home salesperson, to build with the other agent, you really have to see what you're working with,
Yeah.
and you have to just it's like building rapport with anybody. You have to be honest. You have to be straightforward and candid, even if it is something that doesn't shed the brightest light on what you're doing or
Right.
your builder. Like, you have to admit that there are things that are maybe not great about this construction, or that don't fit what they're looking for, more
Right.
likely. So, or you just be straightforward.
What I've
Yeah.
seen in
And
new
show
construction
integrity.
has really been that the new construction agent, though a residential resale agent, those are your clients, really, in so many ways, that you really look out for them and make sure that you reach out to us and say, here's what's happening, here's what's going on, and having those conversations with us. That's a lot of trust that you're building, is because you're treating us as a client, because now we're having to utilize the information that you provide for us, give it to our client, making sure that they know what's going on. And a lot of times, you really present it well, but even if you present it well, the agent, their clients are going to come back and ask you anyway, because you're their conduit between that conversation, and it just makes it a lot easier when you, as that as that salesperson, reaches out to us and says, hey, here's what I want to do, and here's how I build that rapport. So I see that a lot of times when I'm working with those new construction agents. They really work a lot with our residential resale and say, here, how can I help? How can I stand in? How can I be that sounding board if you need it?
Absolutely. Well, and from the new home salesperson standpoint, you want to sell a home to an agent's client, of course. You want them to be your customer, and you want them to buy your home, but you really are seeking to build an audience of reliable referral partners with these agents, is really what you're doing, because an agent works with one, the buyer's working with their agent. It's a single sale.
Yeah.
But you're trying to be like, hey, I would like you to come back and feel comfortable enough that if we are even close to having something that you like, that you had such a good experience, that you want to bring everybody that you work with back here just to hear the pitch, if nothing else. And so it is all about, you can't not have, you can't have an uncandid or a dishonest moment in that position. You just can't, or you will shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
So, or I never learned how to do it anyway. So I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe you can. There are all kinds of people out in the world.
Oh my God, there's so many people in the world.
For those of you listening, you might know somebody who can do it that way. But I mean, I always had good relationships with co-op agents, and and it's because they knew that I was gonna tell them what I really thought.
Yeah.
And tell them the truth about what's going on.
Yeah.
So be transparent.
So flipping that, when you're representing a buyer, what are like red flags or like, skeptical situations that you kind of look out for when you're working with builders? Have there ever been any stories or instances where there was like something sketchy going on?
Absolutely.
Leave out names, but do tell.
Absolutely. I would never. I'm not going to name names. I
Drop
wouldn't
the
name builders
names.
or names.
Yeah.
No.
Not until the cameras aren't rolling. But yes, I would say it's frequently the case where So imagine it's like you're dating somebody and you are on your absolute best behavior.
Sure.
Like until they buy, until they've signed the contract and
Oh,
you have
boy.
their deposit check, whatever that equates to in the dating world, use your imagination. And then they kind of just all the things they said they were going to do for you or that were, promised just go right by the wayside. A lot of it's communication. I mean, we're all guilty of that. A lot of it is, hey, we're going to call you every week and give you an update on construction,
Yeah.
or we're going to make sure that this gets done. And they pull the old trick of being totally human, and they lose all of their focus after the contract's been signed and the money has been deposited. And
You're so nice about that.
I mean,
Being totally human.
He's a good guy.
Well, I will
So
try to
nice.
be diplomatic. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt and give some grace.
Yeah.
And then if it continues to happen, it's like, hey, I've already called you 4 times and you haven't returned my call. We're at a point now where you're not just being human,
Yeah.
you're being kind of a, anyway. So
Negligent.
I do try to be gentle.
Beautiful, you filled in the blank for him.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's putting myself in their
Sure.
shoes. And so you have to decide whether it's incompetence, evil, or just, being just forgetting
Yeah.
and deserve some grace. There's a lot of that. And then there's also just the you have to be clear that with your clients, I'm representing somebody right now. And fortunately, I'm working with a great team of salespeople on the builder side, but nothing that is said counts for diddly. It's all what's in writing. It's all that matters. It's the same thing. Now that's where it's real estate for sure. Because
Yeah.
it is. Forget about what they said there. You aren't getting the hardwood floors where they said they'll get that done for you.
Oh,
If
yeah.
it's not in the contract, it's not getting done. And
Yeah.
so
That's a win right there. If you don't get anything else from that conversation, putting things in writing always matters.
Always.
it seems so obvious, and the people who are inclined to give the benefit of the doubt are the most susceptible to being like, he'll probably get it done.
Yeah, right.
Wrong.
And,
Yeah.
and nobody's hurt by you putting it in writing either.
I know, right?
I
Yeah.
know. It's
Yeah,
okay.
and if they don't want to
foreign
put it in
concept.
writing, it's that's a
that's
red flag.
That's
Yeah.
a huge red flag.
It's like, well, you said you were going to do it. What's the difference
Wait a
in
minute,
putting it in
it
It
writing?
happens at walkthroughs too.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens less because there's more
I thought I was going to
awareness
get a
of it now.
refrigerator.
Yeah, or they say, the builder's getting pressure to get that house closed before the end of the month. So yesterday, I'm sure there was at least one of these happened because it was the end of June. So
Yeah.
where they have a bunch of things on a walkthrough list that didn't get done, but they're like, I promise you, I'll get them done. I'm just not going to write them down and turn them into my builder. And
Nope.
Yeah.
sorry, my friend. Doing.
What's so great about your classes and you having those conversations because you can really offset a lot of those questions or potential issues because I talk to you first. You're going to tell me, hey, here's what's going to happen. And it may be because, I mean, a lot of times, it could be different builder to builder, but a lot of things are pretty much standard that here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to focus on.
Right.
Here's some things you need to look out for when you're having that conversation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you walk in and the only person in the room who's aware of what's happening is the salesperson.
Right.
So if I know a little bit more before I can go in, that helps me, number one, be equipped for myself, but also for my client.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the best thing I can do for anybody is try to tell them what the builder is probably thinking through, where their motivations are, where their headspace is. It's like they're investors, they're business people selling to a customer, so there's less emotion on their side of things, and they're looking at, I've got to get this one closed to make my monthly number, and we're already low margin on this house, and so I don't want to be giving a bunch of stuff away. And we never escrow money. We're not escrowing money. If they delay, we're not going. I mean, it's just if I've been in the rooms with for those discussions many times, and to be able to say, okay, here's where you can push to an agent, and here's what's going on. Here's probably what the answer you're going to get. A lot of times, the answer you're going to get is not going to be great.
Right.
I can tell you this right now.
Yeah.
Because your buyer has a lot more of their life in limbo on the line right now than the builder has. And so the leverage is all, it's like, oh, what are you going to do?
True.
And there are remedies. There are things you can do, but really it's a matter of severity. Like how far are you really going to push this? Or do you just want to get in the house and we can figure it out?
Right.
So that's a discussion you have to have sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's way too. We're going to do some rapid fire to wrap all this up. Some fun ones, some quick responses.
Let's go.
So for you personally, new build or a resale?
Oh, I'm 50-50 on that.
Really?
Yeah, I never had a new build until the one I'm in now. This is the first new build that I have, and I love some things about it. Like,
Okay.
I'm the only one
I
who's
was
ever
about
been
to
there.
say, of course you do.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
the guru.
It's yours.
I stopped working for that company who finished my house like 2 weeks before the house finished. So
Oh.
I bought it from them, and then they're like, yeah.
Look at you.
But I still like it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't replace some of the stuff like, I mean, I've always loved places like Hillsborough Village and Sylvan Park and the charming old,
Yeah.
arts
The
and crafts
character.
houses and things like that. So
For sure.
it's hard to find. So
You can try to recreate it, but it's a lot harder to do.
Yeah, like we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier. That's right.
Yeah. Last one. Best piece of advice you've ever gotten.
Probably from my dad when he said, I was probably, ironically, if we look back at the beginning of our entire conversation, I was probably thinking I couldn't, something I was involved in, I was kind of down on whether I was going to be able to do it or do it well or something like that. Or like thinking out in the future and kind of shortchanging myself on what I was capable of. And he said, you just got to think, why not me? Why not? I mean, it's everything
you.
ever done in the world was done by humans, and you're a human, and you got your brain, and you got your health, and
That's cool.
Why not me?
Yeah.
So
I love that.
yeah, it's a lot easier to be negative in the world than it is to be positive. There's so many things that negativity sells, as we know these days. So it's no more valid a mindset than being positive about everything.
Well, it's what you said earlier. You'll always find what you're looking for.
That's true. That's
So
exactly
if you're
right.
looking for the positivity, you'll find it. If you're
So
looking for the
4
negativity, you'll
very
find it
true.
too.
4 triathlons in 2026 is what I'm hearing, right?
2026.
Yeah.
He said, "Why not me?"
I mean, why not? I mean,
I can
you
give you
got
the
6
answer to
more
that
months.
one. Why not me? I can tell you that right now.
He's like, "I have a whole
Take the
list."
why
First of
out,
all,
not me.
That's one every month and a half.
That's so funny.
Between now and the end of the year.
You can do it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'll be
Okay.
there with you.
Nothing else is getting done, though.
All right, where can people find you? Social media, email. Let us know how people can ask you all their questions about new construction.
Sure, they can always email me, which is my first dot last name at Gmail. So I get plenty of email there. Don't be surprised if it takes me a minute to respond because
Setting expectations. We
I've
love
had
that.
that Gmail account for like 25 years now. So I'm also Instagram and Facebook because I am an older person. I'm still on Facebook. And
I was trying to think
it's
about
always my name. So it's like there's only
Easy to
one
find you.
LaWarre in the entirety of the Middle Tennessee area. So you'll find
So
me if
unique,
you're
so
looking.
great. I love it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Josh, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on the episode today.
Glad to do it. It was fantastic.
We are
Yeah.
Thanks
so
for having
glad
me.
to have you here. It was great spending some time with you, and I learned a lot about you that I didn't know. Like you talk to people for a little bit, but then when you get a chance to really hone in and have a good conversation, you learn so much, and I know it's going to be really beneficial for our viewers as well.
Yeah.
So thank you all for joining us on this podcast, and we will see you next time, and hopefully you're able to gain some more in your life and your business this week.
Love it.
Bye.